So this is a joint project with Joao, Fonseca, Attila, Lindner, and Tímea Molnár. And although we have been working on this project for quite a while, this is definitely still work in progress. So I very much welcome any comments and questions that you have. And this is the first time that we present it in Hungary. So I really look forward to your thoughts. So the topic of this paper is labor market tightness, wage inequality, and workplace amenities. And let's hope that it works. Okay. So let me first give you some motivation for what we do. So rising wage inequality has been an issue for quite a while, and many channels have been discussed in the literature so far. For example, the evolution of skills, changes in labor demand, market power, etc. And in this paper, we focus on cyclicality and labor market tightness, which may be another source of the increasing wage inequality. And I guess you know that the importance of market tightness has been increasing during the past decade or so. So there is quite a few evidence in the literature that even if the economy does not do so well, there are very tight labor markets. There is some example, for example, from Germany, and also from a report from the European Commission. We know that tight labor markets will likely be around for quite a while. At least that's what predicted. And we know, and also we see some evidence from Hungary that if the labor market is tighter, which is on this axis which is on this figure on the horizontal axis, then wages tend to increase. So this is a wage Philip curve for Hungary. It is based on the admin data, which I will tell you later. So it is just a motivating figure. Don't worry about the data too much. So we see that if the labor market tightness is larger, meaning that the 1 minus unemployment rate is bigger at time t-1, at year t-1, then the growth of the wage, or on this figure, the mean log wage, is increasing. So this is the standard wage Phillips curve. No, even if we don't look at wages, but wage premiums, so basically if we net out the composition of workers from the wages, then we still see the same increasing pattern. So tighter labor markets imply that the wage growth is bigger. Now, but then we may ask that, then what about wage inequalities? So how do wage? Sorry, I should have. So yeah, it's an abbreviation of 3 authors, above Kramars and Mangolis, very difficult to pronounce. So it is very standard. They developed a very standard empirical approach to net out the individual effects from wages. So this AKM firm fixed effect, that is the wage premium paid by a firm, netting out the compositional effect of the workers. So on this figure, we again on the horizontal axis, we have the labor market tightness at year t-1, but on the vertical axis, on the y-axis, we have the growth of the standard deviation of log wages. So on the vertical axis, we have the growth rate of wage dispersion. And on the left-hand side figure, we have the log wage. On the right-hand side figure, we have this AKM firm fixed effect, which is the wage premium. And what we can see that again, we see a positive relation for the wages. It's quite noisy, so it's not it's significant only at the 10% level, whereas for the wage premium paid by the firm, it is this positive relation is statistically stronger. So meaning that if the labor market is tighter, just a second, then the wage dispersion seems to increase. Yeah, there are questions. Yeah.
Well, you use this AKM filter, but still so to say rely on this macro tightness measure. Why not to so to say disentangle and disaggregate on an AKM or any other type of because you know if you deal with this dispersion and the tightness is not defined on the appropriate level, just you rely on this macro, I think you might somehow specify all the relations.
So I did go into details here. So I think of these figures only just motivation, but here I should have told you that so here unemployment rate is measured at the county level, and yeah, so you are right that we could. Yeah, so we really just wanted to see the big picture, how the wage dispersion relates to tightness, which is at the county level. But you will see that we go into much more details in the actual empirical analysis. But there was another question.
First fixed effects by the definition should be constant over time, but this figure shows that they are changing. So are you estimating a per year fixed effects, or does this mean show the basic average showing that high-paying firms grow relatively compared to low-paying firms?
Okay, so this again an important question, and maybe I should have because actually I will explain how we estimate the firm fixed effects later. So we make it 3 year specific. So we allow it to have time variation, and that's why we have a difference in that. So you will see the equation later, but it's a very valid question, and maybe I should have told it before. So it will have time variation in our data on the 3 year level. Did it answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I will explain that later. Okay. So our key question in this paper is that why do firm level wage premium increase with market tightness? And of course there are many potential mechanisms. And in this paper we focus on the role of the compensating wage differentials. So what we will show is that the compensating wage differentials increase over the business cycle, and basically the idea behind is that the labor market is slack. So if there is quite a high unemployment rate, then the low amenity firms do not need to compensate workers that much, whereas if the labor markets are tighter, then the competition increases among firms, and they need to compensate more for the bad amenities. So this will be the general idea behind what we do. So we focus on amenities of the workplace, and we will proxy the bad amenities with the workplace related risk of injuries, and we will focus on compensating wage differentials, basically by estimating the relation between bad amenities and the firm wage premium, which is measured by this AKM firm fixed effects. Again, I will explain all these in details later. So basically, we will analyze how these bad amenities are reflected in the firm level wage premiums over the business cycle. And we also look at how firm quality is affected by those. And in the end, but today I won't talk about that because definitely I won't have time for that. But we also put together a simple theoretical framework to provide a background for the empirical patterns. Yes.
So you are not including this exposure to some sort of risk. You only include what is, so to say, a risk of injuries.
Yes.
Something like that. But say in a lab, there is a higher exposure, you are not dealing with that.
No, we just estimate how risky a firm is. So
but the risk is measured with this
injuries.
Injury,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Not with the, so to say,
not with the exposure. No, so with
one-off event only, and not this, so to say, deteriorating health
No,
over a longer
no.
period of time?
No, only by injuries. That's all.
Risk of injuries, it would mean that this is only about basically blue collar workers, right?
Yes.
So like white collar workers.
They are not in.
I don't, so you're only focusing on firms that has like manufacturing or
Not, but we focus on a blue collar workers. So you made a very important point that it's mostly relevant only to the blue collar workers, and we will focus only on them.
A very basic and dumb question. Why do you call it amenities?
It's one of the aspects of the firm, how risky it is. So it's not the firms have many characteristics. One characteristic is how much the firm pays, and another characteristic is how risky it is, and then there are many other characteristics. And only this injury risk is only one of those. So it's just one amenity of the firm.
Amenities are not like, how much I go to home office. And
Yeah.
Flexible.
Yeah, and I will show you some evidence that this risk injury is strongly correlated with all these other types of characteristics, like home office or how good the management is and etc. So it is really just a proxy for bad amenities. Okay, so let me give you a preview of our results. So what we find is that this risk or the injury risk is positively correlated with the firm premiums, and we show evidence that this correlation increases with the market tightness. So as the labor market tightness increases, then the role of compensating variation increases in the wages, and we do some back of the envelope calculations, and we find that this increased compensation can explain around up to 16% of the wage on the firm level wage dispersion. And we also find evidence that as the labor markets become tighter, then the high-risk firms become less attractive, even though they pay higher premium. So our results suggest that there is less than full compensation for the bad amenities in equilibrium. Okay, so I don't wish to run out of time, so I don't go into details on the literature here. Let me just say that the origin of this literature on the role of amenities comes from two papers by Rose, and these are very influential papers. And following that, quite a lot of papers have been written on the role of amenities. But there is in this literature a big limitation is that especially in administrative data, typically we do not observe amenities. So in the more recent literature, which you can see in the last bullet point, they provide indirect evidence for the role of amenities using the transitions between firms. So basically, these papers do not have any observations on any firm level amenities. So what are our contributions? So we have very rich admin data, which is the Hungarian admin data, where we can observe the firm-specific injury rates. So we have at least one measure for an amenity of the firm, and we can relate that to the wage premium, and also we can link that to the change of market tightness. So as far as we understand, these are all novel approaches in the literature. Actually, there are some papers that use the health risk of the firm. So, for example, there is a paper which uses fatality risks at the firm, but here with the injury rates, we can focus on a less radical measure. So fatality at the firms is a very rare event. And also there is a problem if a research focuses on mortality or fatality rates, then that is by definition one-off event, whereas injuries can happen several times for a worker. So we can network individual effects that we can control for selections here. So it's from a statistical point of view, it's better to focus on injuries. Let me skip that. So we are focusing on Hungary, and our data will cover the period 2009 to 2017. So this is a period when the unemployment rate fell quite much, from around 10% to around 4%, and at the same time there was a real wage growth in the economy. So a key indicator that we focus on will be the injuries, and we capture injuries based on diagnosis codes in the admin data. So it can be either an outpatient diagnosis made at an outpatient clinic or at a hospital. And we try to exclude those injuries which are really minor injuries, and we make that by excluding those injuries which are not followed by a sickness absence. So, because we just think that really, so we don't expect that the really minor injuries would make could capture how good or how attractive a firm is. So we just think that really minor injuries are not observable for the colleagues or for the potential applicants for the firm, and we just decide to focus on really serious injuries. So to say.
My argument would be that a firm where these are not minor injuries. Minor injuries when I cut my hand and I don't have to go to the hospital. We talk about injuries when you do have to go to the hospital.
Or to a specialist. Yeah.
So this is when you have to visit the doctor. So this is not minor, but sort of like,
Yes.
And isn't it that, like, a workplace where you have more of these is this bad amenity workplace, even though they don't have major injuries, just many of these minor injuries when you have to visit.
Yeah, we have. You are right that it's not as it's not trivial that we have to make these restrictions. We could check. My guess is that our results shouldn't be sensitive to this definition, but we can check it. That's absolutely a valid comment.
So then, just in case of example, all minors would not be in your study, right? Because coal mining, which typically might be with this type of injury, but still the silicosis is the major link for the coal miner.
Yes, so that's
But you are excluding.
Yes. So
Work-related.
We definitely exclude these long-term chronic conditions that may develop due to the work environment, because that's just impossible to capture.
Asking that because there might be some elements in the wage which compensate for that type of.
Sure. So it's just part of the. So there are many amenities that we don't observe, and it's definitely a limit. So we really just have one proxy for amenities. We will show some evidence that it correlates with other bad amenities at the firm, and So definitely we cannot. There are many aspects that we cannot observe, like this long-term health conditions that may develop as a consequence of the firm.
My question is, how do you know that these injuries happen at the workplace?
So we don't know, or we could know, but we don't really use that information. So it is linked to this last bullet point, that if someone is on sick leave, then she receives sickness benefits, and there is this special kind of sickness benefit which is paid after if someone has an accident or injury at the workplace. So there is a special category of sickness benefit payable after injury at the workplace, and we observe that in the admin data. We have a robustness check for that, but if we use only those injuries, and our results are noisier, but still robust to that. And we decided to use the broad category of injuries because we we read some anecdotal evidence that there are reporting issues in this workplace injuries. So firms have an incentive not to report an injury to have occurred at the workplace, because in that case the firm has to pay the sickness benefit. So and then in that case the sickness benefit is 100% and it is payable by the firm. So that's definitely not in the interest of the firm to report such an injury. So the firm is better off if the injury is categorized only as
But it isn't the other place. Whatever, and they have many injuries outside.
But
Place, and you measure it as an amenity, but it's basically just the quality.
no, but that's why it will be important that we will not out individual effects. So that will be important, because you are absolutely right. Different types of people maybe work at different firms. So it's a very good concern, but we will estimate the firm fixed effect on the injury rates. There were some other questions.
Yeah, so it's not clear to me what is the difference between the risky workplace and the number of people on sick leave, because at those high risk firms, a lot of people are going to be on sick leave, right? Because this is how we define the firm to be high risk. So how do you know that you measure, what you measure is the employee, is the firm being risky, or the fact that there is a firm that is missing a lot of employees, or is missing its employees more often than other firms? So maybe it's just not, maybe they are not compensating anything, maybe they are just more in need for certain workers due to many people being on sick leave, or due to more people being on sick leave than at other firms. So I don't know, maybe the sick leave is the channel. I'm not sure, but it is a bit. I just don't see how the risk and the employees being on sick leave relate to each other in this question.
So okay, so maybe I wasn't clear here. So we use the sick leave information only to capture individuals who suffer an injury. So our definition of injury is that we observe an injury related diagnosis code, and the person goes on sick leave. So that's how we define the injuries. And I will talk about how we measure the firm level wage premium. So when we measure that, then we exclude those people who went on sick leave. So we make sure that people going on sick leave do not influence the estimated wage premium of the firm, because it may be an issue at small firms, that if someone goes on sick leave, that may impact, that event itself may impact the wage premium paid by the firm. But I'm not sure I fully understood.
So no, actually, I was trying to ask something else. So if there's a firm where a lot of people are on sick leave, to whatever reason, many times they might have this sudden need for new workers, and maybe they are in the first negotiating place to get them, because so maybe it's just, so it's not about the wages of those ones. I'm just thinking about how the firm should react if a lot of people are on sick leave. Then they would need to hire people very quickly, and maybe to do that they have to pay more. It's not that they are compensating for the risks, but they are more in need for hiring new people, or they need some overwork from, or they might need other work, and then which should be paid at a high rate. Yes.
Okay, I see what you mean. So you mean that of those firms where there are lots of injuries, then the firm somehow has to ensure that those people are replaced properly. Well, so we are not. I should think about that. But so definitely we're not doing an event study analysis or anything like that. So we are not focusing on the injury event and what happens next. But you are right that we should. So I don't think that, so these injury rates are quite low probability events. So, but still at small firms it may be an issue. I don't think at big firms. But
Only about hiring people, but also making your workers to do more overtime. And it would show up as a higher purchase effect in your
I see your point. I should think that over. So anyway, so I think these are very valid questions. I don't have a good answer for this, but our main results won't be the measurement of the compensating differential, but its variation over the business cycle. So even if these issues are there, then I should think it over if it affects how the firm reacts to the business cycle. I'm not sure. It's not trivial, let me say. But yes, I thank you for this. I made a note of it and I will send it over. Okay.
How the firm reacts might also depend on the sector, because I don't know, in Monica, it's very customary to increase the overwork, but then compensate not through the wage, but through extra vacation days. So might not see that.
Yeah, we don't see that. Yeah, that's true. Yes. We haven't thought about this aspect of the analysis, so we will think that over if there are some mechanical effects of absence on the wage premium over the business cycle. I need to think that over. Okay, let me skip that. So turning to the data, so we use the well-known admin 3 data. You know that the health data is available only from 2009, so we focus on 2009, 2017, and following on Rita's suggestion, we focus on blue-collar workers only, aged 20 to 60, and we focus on private sector firms only where there are at least 10 blue-collar workers on average in each year. This is needed just to make sure we have reasonable estimates of wage premiums, retention rate, and etc. The unemployment rate comes from the Hungarian Central Statistical Office, and for background information, we use the European Working Conditions Survey. Okay, so the labor market tightness measure, we use a country level indicator. Okay, so we calculate a 3-year average of unemployment rate, and so throughout this paper, the time horizon will be that we have altogether 9 years of observation, and these 9 years of observations we split to 3-year periods. So we will have three times 3-year periods in the analysis, and our baseline tightness measure is just the minus unemployment rate. Okay. Now, so let me very briefly explain how we estimate the wage premium. So this answers András's question. So we follow the method of Abbott, Kramartz, and Margolis, but we use an extension on a Lachowska and Coaters. So this extension means that we estimate time varying firm fixed effects. So this is our model. So on the left hand side we have the log wage of individual I at firm J at month T. We have some regressors which are in fact only h squared and h cubed. We have individual fixed effect, time effect, and then comes this firm fixed effects, which is not really fixed because it is 3-year specific firm's fixed effect. So that is allowed to vary by across 3-year periods within a firm. So that will be our firm specific wage premium, which is time varying. And for the injury risk, we estimate the same model with the only difference that on the left-hand side, we have the binary indicator of injury. So we take all workers, we take monthly level data, and we regress we estimate this equation where the dependent variable is a dummy variable if a person suffers an injury or not. And this estimated phi parameters, these are the three specific, three period specific firm effects. Okay, so here it is important that we note individual effects alpha I, so the individual effects, and this model is identified by movers between firms. And I don't wish to go into details on that, but we do have Bayesian shrinkage to this estimated parameter because we estimate a large set of parameters, so we can correct for some noises. But this Bayesian shrinkage makes very little difference to our results, and results are very robust to whether we do that or not. Okay, so this is quite a demanding model to estimate, and it's a non-standard model of injury because the outcome is a binary outcome and it's a relatively rare outcome. So the standard model in the literature is have the log wage or the wage on the left-hand side, and instead of that we have this binary risk indicator on the left-hand side, and we couldn't find any papers in the literature that would do a similar thing. So we saw that it's important that we check the credibility of this measure. So we do a couple of diagnostic tests for it. So first, let me really just very briefly summarize this. So we did a simulation, so where we simulate these injury probabilities and we make it only individual firm specific, but with the same ratios that we observe in the data. So we did a simulation. Again, let me just tell you that this simulation worked very well. So here the black lines are the simulated injury rates, the red ones are the estimated firm effects, and on the right hand side the estimated person effects on the simulated data, and the dots are very close to each other. So this simulation was quite reassuring for us that what we do makes sense. Let me skip that because I'm running out of time is flying. So let me just show you this figure as well, that we did another diagnostic test which follows Cart and co-authors method, but they do it for wages, we do it for injuries. So here what we do is that we look at people or workers who move between firms, and on the horizontal axis you can see the years since the transition. So it is the transition between firms, and then we categorize the movers based on the risk of the origin and the destination firms. So for example, the blue ones are those workers who move from a high-risk firm to a low-risk firm, high injury rate firm to a low injury rate firm. The red ones are those who move to a low injury rate firm to a high injury rate firm. And what we can see that the injury rate of the individual move follows the injury risk of the firm. So this is how it should be, that if someone moves, like the blue ones, if someone moves from a high risk firm to a low risk firm, then the injury probability decreases. And here you can see that these injury rates are quite small. Those are less than 1%. Okay.
So I understand it correctly that the probability of the injuries is less than 1% a year?
Yeah, no, it's the monthly, per month. That's the 1% per month.
In this case, perhaps it's not so important, but how large a share of firms do not have injuries? And that you would do with them?
We don't do anything with them. They are, well, how I don't know what share, what is the share of them. So maybe this no, it doesn't say that exactly. So definitely for the individuals. Okay, maybe it says so for the individuals it's around 80% of the workers never have an injury. For firms, it's about 20. It should be around 20%. about 20% of the firms that never have, whose workers never have an injury at all. So we don't do anything with them. So they. Or do you mean by the identification of the? How do we identify the?
It was a question just because I do not understand it. How do you deal with the fact that if some things are very rare, then you cannot estimate the probability of these rare occasions if you do not observe them at all. So it is possible that some firms that do not have any kind of injuries have a positive injury rate, and that may be affect your estimates, perhaps not. I don't
know. How do they? Yeah, I should check that if those firms enter this this model or not. I think they are still in the. Okay, I should check that. I know that we thought it over at some point. How they enter this one. So the way we don't throw them out. Okay, I have to check. I should know that, but at the moment I don't know, but I will check. I will check it again. Yes.
Go back to that.
This one?
Yeah, so I don't quite understand how you define low and high. If I look at the blue line, which is going from high to low, and then this means that someone works at a high and -3, whereas where the injury rate is 0.08, and then he moves to the low, where it goes up to the same rate in +2.
Yeah.
So do these firms go back and forth from high to low, or do they stay in the same category throughout the whole period, or what happens here?
Yeah, the firms stay in the whole period. So yeah, so there is some trend. So this is this figure shows the individual's injury rate, and there is for this blue group we see some increasing trend in their injury rate, some slight increase. But here the important message on this figure is that so these high risk firms, so that is above median firm level risk. It is constant for a firm, but these people they have an origin firm and destination firm. So they move from a high risk firm to a low risk firm from time -1 to time 0. And what is important for us here is that right around the transition there is a clear decline in the rate of injury. Here this slight positive trend is not varying. So what is important, what happens at -1 and at 0. So yeah, so they change firms, and there is a clear decline. But yes, there are some trends in there. Okay. Okay. I need to speed up. So we can also check how do these firm specific injury risks relate to other firm characteristics. So these are just correlations or just simple Wallace regressions. On the first column we have the overall injury rate, and it is here on the annual level. So it's multiplied by 12, so that's why it's around 10% here, the injury rate. The second column, we have the firm-specific injury risk, and just for comparison, the last column, we have the firm-specific wage premium. So basically what we can find, what we see is that this injury risk is bigger at bigger firms. It is, so if you just focus on the second column, this injury risk is smaller at firms which are in the Budapest commuting zone. Injury risk is bigger at higher productivity firms, and if we check it by index risk, here the reference category is the manufacturing. So compared to the manufacturing sector, all other industries except for construction, the injury rates are lower, which we think makes sense. So we do not exclude any industries, but we always focus on blue collar workers only. Okay, so let me then slowly turn to our main approach. So first, again, still it is just sort of a descriptive plot. So here on the horizontal axis, we have the firm-specific injury risk. On the vertical axis, we have the firm-specific wage premium. We netted a couple of firm characteristics, but what we see is that there is a positive correlation between the two. So this is what we would expect based on the literature on the compensating wage differentials. Okay, this I will explain later. And just because you have asked me about what is injury risk measures and whether it's a good proxy for amenities, well, based on the admin data, we cannot say anything on that because we don't observe amenities in any other amenities in the administrative data. But for background information, we can use this European Working Conditions Survey. Again, I won't go into details on that, but in this survey, there are two questions that we can that we use to measure the health risk of the firm. So the first one is this: that do you think your health or safety is at risk because of your work? Yes or no. And the second question is: does your work affect your health? Yes, negatively. Yes, positively, or no. So from these two variables, we take the average, and that's our health risk indicator at this survey. And in this survey, there are other questions which measure firm amenities, like working hours with family life, if the worker has experienced abuse at the firm, the quality of the immediate boss, and whether the worker is satisfied with working conditions. And we estimate two different versions of the model. Don't worry about that, but let me just show this table. So in all columns, the dependent variable is the health risk at the firm, and you can see that it is negatively correlated with the working hours fitting the family, so the workplace being family friendly. There is no heterogeneity by unemployment rate, by UR. Then in the second column, we see that the health risk is negatively correlated with working conditions, negatively correlated with the quality of the boss, and again, it's negatively correlated with no abuse at the workplace. So it just reinforces this survey-based evidence that what we measure as injury risk is most likely correlated with other bad amenities of the firm. So it's really just a proxy for how good or bad the workplace is. Okay, and okay, we also check if these firm-specific injury rates vary over the business cycle, because maybe these questions that you had before this, they also hinted at that the injury risk may change with labor market tightness, and we do not see any evidence for that. So, for example, if we look at this figure where on the horizontal axis we have the labor market tightness, on the vertical axis we have the firm-specific injury risk, we do not see any meaningful correlation or not. Whether you remember, whereas if you remember, if we had the firm-specific wages on the vertical axis, we had a clear positive relation, but not for the risk. Okay. Okay, so now finally I turn to our main first set of main results. So basically, know that we have a risk measure which we think it's credible, but I really appreciate your comments on that. So we have to make some further checks to ensure that our risk measure is a valid measure. But let's assume that it's a good measure of injury risk. Then our question is that how does the response of the firm to the risk changes with labor market tightness. And to estimate that, we have this model. So here on the dependent variable is the firm-specific wage premium. It's this AKM firm fixed effect. And on the right-hand side, we have the labor market tightness at the country level. So we multiply it by 10. So it will show the impact of 10 percentage point change in negative unemployment rate. So that's our tightness measure. Then we have the risk measure, and here we use this estimated firm-specific injury risk, but we standardize it just to make the interpretation of the coefficients a bit easier. And so we have the interaction term, then tightness and risk themselves, and then as control variables, we include a bunch of firm and time-specific indicators. So these control variables capture the composition of the workers, so the mean age, mean sex, the person-specific injury rate, and the occupation composition of the workers, and we have firm effects and time effects in the model. Okay, so this is what we estimate, and then we will. I don't know if you can see it, but for the tightness and the risk, we allow the coefficient to vary over time. But in the next table, you will see that our results are not sensitive to that. So in the top panel, we have a model where we do not introduce this time varying coefficients. In the bottom panel, we introduce this time varying coefficients, and the main interaction terms coefficient is very robust to this choice. So our results here are not sensitive to that. And here, what you can see is that if the tightness of the labor market is higher, then the compensation for the risk is also higher. So that is what is reflected by this coefficient, which is displayed in blue. Okay, so in the top panel, we see that with labor market tightness and with risk, the wage premium increases. But for us, the most important result is that with tight labor market, this compensation increases. Okay. Okay, so how does it look like if we just try to plot this heterogeneity? It's not that easy to plot it, and also since the numbers are quite noisy, it's not that obvious that the slopes are different. But actually, if you look at the blue fitted line, which is the below median labor market tightness, and we have the risk on the horizontal axis, the wage premium on the vertical axis, then you can see that for the low tightness group, the slope of the fitted line is smaller than for the high tightness group. And okay, so okay, I don't have time to go over all these details here, but if you are interested, then I'm happy to tell you afterwards how we do it. But basically, we do a back of the envelope calculation. So we make a counterfactual scenario where we assume that the compensation for the risk is the same at the high tightness environment as it were at a low tightness environment. So based on this counterfactual scenario, after doing some calculation, we arrive at this number of 0.16. So that magic number says that this compensation variation can explain up to 16% of the wage inequalities. Again, I don't go into details on that, but this just to have an idea how big our estimated impacts, estimated coefficients are. Then this number gives an idea that overall we capture about 16% of the variation of the wages. Okay, so then once we establish this estimated heterogeneity on the effect of risk on the wage premium, we also look at some indicators of the preference for the firm, and this is what you can see in columns 2 to 5. So here in column 2, we have the workforce turnover rate as outcome variable. So here we estimate the same model, only the dependent variable is different, and the higher turnover rate indicates that the preference for the firm is lower. And then in the third and the fourth column, we look at retention rate, and we measure that either by 1 minus the exit rate of workers or 1 minus this E2E, this is the employer-to-employer transition rate. So in both columns, we see that these blue coefficients are negative, so that indicates that if the labor markets are tighter, then the retention rate of those firms decrease more, which are of high risk. Okay, so at high risk firms, the retention rate decreases more with tighter labor market tightness. And in the last one, we also look at firm size, but that the results for that is very sensitive to the specification, so that we don't have robust results for that. Okay, so we do a bunch of specification checks, and overall our results seem to be very robust. So we have the baseline in the first column, then what happens if we don't have any control variables in the model, what if we exclude the Budapest commuting zone, what if we exclude construction, where we know that there are some wage underreporting or informality of workers is prevalent. And then in the fifth column, we rescued the sample to the balance sample, so to those firms who remain in the 9-year period throughout, and our results are not sensitive to this. And finally, let me just list what other specifications checks we have thought of so far. And again, I'm happy to show you this afterwards. So we do an IV approach with a shift share instrument using the industry specific employment rate, and weight that by the share of industries in the country. Sorry, there is a typo there, and our results are super robust to that. Then we do some we use some alternative tightness measures. So our tightness measure so far was only the minus unemployment rate, but then we can also, these other measures, use the transition rates of workers in the labor market. Again, the results are robust to that. We have some alternative risk definitions, and since you asked me about that, let me just very briefly show you this table. So in the top row, we have the baseline results, so that uses our baseline risk indicator. Then what happens if you don't do this Bayesian shrinkage magic to this? Again, our results are not affected. Then we check what happens if we focus on more and more severe injuries. And here, I think we should check what happens if we look at all injuries without any restriction by sickness absence. Then we look at what happens if we measure risk only at the beginning of the time period and make that time invariant. And finally, this is what I wish to show you. So this is the risk of the workplace accident. So that is, here we use for the injuries only those injuries where the worker afterwards receives this special sickness benefit, which indicates that the injury happened at the workplace. So here the coefficients are much larger. That is because it's a lower probability event. So it is just a scaling issue, and maybe we should standardize it to make the coefficients comparable. So we shouldn't worry about that here. But you can see that the signs are the same as in the top row. So we estimate the positive coefficient for the compensating wage differential, negative coefficients for the retention rates, but these are noisier estimates. So not all of these are significant statistically, but still this results suggest for us that our results hold, even if we use a stricter definition of injuries. Okay, and finally, we also have some evidence that our results are not driven by changes in productivity or changes in the structure of the firm. Okay, so let me stop here, and I guess we have a couple of minutes for questions if there are any.
For me, it's I can understand that if the market becomes tighter, then the injury rates doesn't decrease, but it's very expensive to decrease. So that's fine. It's fine. We have basically no idea how they do. But it's really strange for me that wages go up and worker churning goes up without changing. And you know, right? Retention rate goes down and employment doesn't change. It means that entry rate should increase as well.
Yeah, and returns.
But the employment doesn't change.
Yeah, and yeah. So if you check the turnover rate, so turnover rate, that is the entry plus exit, and it's the coefficient is around twice the retention rate. So basically all the firms can replace all the workers who left. So the turnover increases. So there are many people leaving, and the firm.
Do you have any idea why?
By the firm can replace the.
By the employment doesn't decrease because wages can only change if the firms have some kind of market power. And firms are profit maximizing.
Yeah.
So perhaps they should decrease employment as well. Or
interpretation is that these firms have market power, so they know. So as the labor markets become tighter, they have to compensate more for the amenities, and they have the resources for that. So they have to increase their wages to make sure that they can replace the workers who leave, or try to make sure that not that many workers leave. So that's how we think of it.
Special ignorance. I'm not familiar with the alternative tightness measures bench for but the relevance here is that whether the tightness needs to be measured on a regional level. And I'm pretty sure that, for example, in construction, the region is not, how to say, a good indicator to decompose or to represent whether there is any tightness across, say, larger geographical areas. So then I think the occupation might be also somehow included. The tightness is more relevant, say, if we combine with the chef around the lake, Balaton, and not just Balaton.
Yeah. So I mean that we should check some kind of industry-specific
industry or occupation if you are able to measure, because you are using, so to say, aggregate individual characteristics on firm level. So why not to use it in a different way to somehow construct your own tightness measure?
Yeah, I think it's not trivial to make it.
Yeah, but you are using, so to say, individual characteristics to aggregate on firm level, right? Why not to do it on occupation level?
Yeah, so maybe so for these other tightness measures, those use the employment transition rate. So if there is lots of movement, no, but maybe we can measure these transition rates by occupations or by industries.
Very contribution to the question.
So basically, I think if it's a serious concern that the tightness, labor market tightness is industry or occupation specific, then our results should be stronger. So even with this overall measure of tightness, we get get what we get here. So I would guess that these patterns would be stronger if the tightness is more specific to the industry or the occupation. Yeah, maybe we can do something based on the transitions. Yeah, I will take a note of that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.